So that's the cover of the book. And this poem is called Tom, which is actually the guy's real name. And I did this throughout the book, not changing people's names. I hope that's not a problem later on. So it's called Tom. We met just before they became engaged. While he talked of wedding plans, I kept thinking he should be with me. Days before the ceremony, he told me how he felt, questioned if the ring on his finger was right, questioned if he was marrying the right person. The wedding happened, frustration set in. During the long talks we had at night, on the dock, on the couch, on the hood of my car, he never tried to kiss me, never made a move that would break a vow. His physical commitment to a contract made me love him more. I withdrew to not create complications for the newlyweds or myself. His email arrived 2 years later. By that time, 3 relationships had failed. I felt weak. He wrote how he dreams about me, misses our talks. He dropped by one morning. Within an hour, we're in bed. I touched his sacred skin, kissed his lips. It was the start of an affair, and the end of my dreams of being with him. Not only did his marriage stand in the way, it was his unfaithfulness. But loneliness and weak flesh allowed him back into my bed as I consumed the only thing he could now offer. And this next poem is called Gaston Dugas, who was a French-Canadian flight attendant and world traveler. In 1982, he was labeled patient 0 by the CDC for the AIDS virus, which at the time was known as GRID. He was linked to 41 of the first 248 cases and 9 of the first 19 cases in Los Angeles. And in 1980, by his own estimation, he had intercourse with about 250 partners a year. So Gaston Dugas. You couldn't have been the first, but that is how we know you. Patient 0 who started it all, more like ground zero of the disease. Cinema and history books have marked your name as a monster, a French bomber detonating the disease in each ass and mouth he encountered. But I have more faith in humans than that. I have more faith in you. A man with only one public photo, your blonde hair swirling above your head like Einstein. I tracked that photo down, wanted to see who was to blame, who was responsible for the deaths of my friends, and there you were, looking like you'd been captured by the shutter while on an amusement ride. I kept staring at you, your toxic body long departed from Earth. I kept staring and felt sadness that we've rewritten your history. How could you have known as a lover that while you wooed them with your accent and charms, while you gave pleasure, that you were also killing, planting poisons that they'd share with others? I think of you standing at the front of a plane, your steward's uniform pressed and crisp, you pointing with 2 fingers to the exits and light up aisles, you miming how to use an oxygen mask and light vest. I like this image of you. You were interested in saving lives, not killing. You liked to please and serve. That is what you did. Offered love wrapped in barbed wire, not knowing. And the unknowing is why I forgive you. So that poem was actually written 7 years ago, and since then I found actually more photos of Gaston Dugas. And so this is actually the photo that had I seen it, I think I would have written a totally different poem. And, all right. So this next poem is called Playing with the Doll. He'd undress her, slipping overalls off her stiff shoulders, pushed them down to the cement basement floor. Her 4-foot plastic body stood as if she were a frigid woman, not wanting to be touched, stoned still in fear. He'd throw the naked doll down face first, press his thick body against the jaundiced glow of her synthetic skin. He writhed on top of her, a young boy of 9, grinding his hips into the part of her legs where if she were flesh, there would be a hole. I sat in the corner and watched as the real humped the unreal. I let it all happen out of relief that I was not her, that my clothes were still on, that his body was not pressed against me. When it was me, I was as motionless as she, as silent. While he ground into her plastic body, I wondered who he liked more. This is when I thought touch was love. This is when I thought what he did to me was a sign of love. His rifling and raping of the doll did not elicit fear or desire, just wonder at how all of this felt to him. I wondered about the overweight boy with harsh, cold hands who would hold me down, touch me, find a replacement for me in this doll. He finished and we went upstairs. Later, my mother would find her, matted blonde hair, naked, face first on the ground, a violated synthetic woman. She would ask me, in my youthful honesty, I would tell her, it was him. It was the neighbor who fraudaged and fucked the oversized Patty Play pal. You're such a liar. Don't blame it on anyone else. You're sick, Stephen. It didn't really bother me to not be believed. Like my father's fist, my mother's backhand, my neighbor's weight on me, it was commonplace, and I was the stone-faced doll that took it. And the final poem I'm going to read to you tonight is about a girl I went to Hannah Woods Elementary School with. And the title, and her name was Debbie May, and that's the title of the poem, and that's her image. And this is my kind of honoring for Debbie May. Shortly after her arrival in the 6th grade, she was made fun of. A pudgy girl who was the first to wear a bra, and the last to get a boy's attention. Her name seemed to roll off the tongues with the disdain and disgust that was originally reserved for blacks. Whether tenacious or needy, she never stopped trying. The Friday before spring break, she showed up in a backless floral shirt, a shirt that would have gained compliments had it been worn by another girl, but not Debbie. She was laughed at. I knew what she felt in that designer shirt in front of the mirror. She thought that this was going to be it. That this time they would see her beauty, but they only saw her weakness and preyed upon it like vultures. I sat a few desks away from Debbie, and I wondered why she didn't give up, didn't submit, didn't die. But I knew the answer was growing inside of me and was alive inside of Debbie.